The weirdest stadiums you've ever seen. A horse stadium or maybe a crocodile stadium. But it's not only about animals. All over the world you can find one-of-a-kind venues that make you wonder, what was the architect thinking? In this video, we'll present 25 stadiums, some with just a few thousand seats and others with more than 100,000. This won't be an ordinary episode, and for the weirdest stadiums, make sure to watch until the end. Let's get started. StadiumDB.com presents the weirdest stadiums in the world. 25th place, Rungrado Mayday Stadium, Pyongyang. The largest stadium in the world, and one of the mysteries of North Korea. The local government maintains that there are 150,000 seats in the stands, but we counted. There are much fewer, because 114,000. The distinguishing feature of the stadium, apart from the capacity, is the gigantic roof with an area of 94,000 square meters, resembling an opened parachute or a flower on the water. 24th place, Kenilworth Road, Luton. It is not even about the bizarre shape or irregular stands. The home of Luton simply stands surrounded by hundreds of other houses. Those closest to the stadium are literally glued to it, so that fans entering a match are literally looking into the residents' back gardens. Unfortunately, in a few years, this atmospheric venue will disappear from the football map of the world, and Luton will move to a new stadium. 23rd place, the arena by TransStadia, Ahmedabad. Few venues are as multifunctional as this one. Despite the lack of an Olympic running track, the arena can host, besides football, competitions in 11 sports. But these are not all the functions of the venue, because in the place of the southern stand, there is a hotel, and on its roof, a terrace and a swimming pool with views of the pitch. 22nd place, Olympiastadion, Munich. Elegant and bizarre at the same time, the roof of the Olympiastadion, made entirely of acrylic glass, covers slightly more than half of the asymmetrical stands. Although in the concept it was meant to resemble the landscape of the German Alps, its shape rather brings to mind a huge circus tent. 21st place, Kaohsiung National Stadium, Kaohsiung. The National Stadium of Taiwan is not only a stadium, it is a technological manifesto. Its skeleton resembles a coiling snake. But that is not the strangest thing. Not only is the venue 100% powered by solar energy thanks to photovoltaic panels on the roof, but with the surplus it supplies nearby homes. 20th place, Estadio Cuauhtémoc, Puebla. It is probably the only stadium where 4 roofs were built so that some seats remain uncovered. Above the first tier of the auditorium stand 4 roofed stands, but none of them connects with the next, because of which half of the space of the second tier remains unused. Combined with the round illuminated facade, this gives an abstract effect. 19th place, Hamz Stadium, Kampala. It looks as if the architect changed the concept 3 times during construction. The stands have an oval layout, but the venue does not have an athletics track. The empty spaces behind the goals are filled with basketball courts, and 4 enormous floodlight masts block the view of the pitch for parts of the audience. In addition, the stadium itself is surrounded by a shopping center. 18th place, Alpensia Stadium, Pyeongchang. This is what you call a multifunctional stadium, on Saturday for football, on Sunday for ski jumping. The venue, although it does not resemble a typical football stadium, has on more than one occasion hosted football matches. It has as many as 5 ski jumps, 2 main ones, K125 and K98, and 3 auxiliary ones, K60, K35, and K15. 17th place, Estádio Municipal, Braga. It shocks and impresses. The raw stadium of SC Braga was built in the place of an old quarry. But this is only the first of curiosities. The venue has no stands behind the goals. Instead, on the slope of the quarry behind one of them stands a giant screen. The 2 side stands are connected by an underground tunnel, and the roof, modeled after Incan bridges, is stretched on cables. 16th place, St. James's Park, Newcastle upon Tyne. One of the oldest stadiums on the Isles and the home of Newcastle United looks as if a huge 70,000-seater had been welded together with a modest 20,000-seater. The reason, of course, was the lack of space for expansion of the other 2 stands. But thanks to this, St. James's Park is recognizable all over the world. 15th place, Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis. This stadium is so strange that you might not notice it at all. Unaware visitors might mistake it for a revitalized factory or power station from the 19th century. In reality, however, the stadium's style refers to other sports venues in Indianapolis, also built of red brick. 14th place, Centralny Stadion, Yekaterinburg. Yes, you see correctly. Both stands behind the goal stand outside the stadium. These gigantic temporary structures were supposed to be dismantled after the 2018 World Cup, but they stayed as the home of Ural Yekaterinburg permanently. No less unusual is the facade. The lower part is formed by the original elevation of the stadium built in 1956 in the Stalinist neoclassicism fashionable at that time, and the upper part by metal panels. 13th place, Estadio Único, La Plata. Already the name, meaning unique stadium, makes you think this is not an ordinary venue. Instead of a rectangular, typically football layout or an athletics configuration with oval stands, it was built on the plan of two circles, and such is both its auditorium, created by two semicircles, and the roof, made of two domes joined together. Speaking of two circles, we'd also love to have 2 zeros after the 1 in our subscriptions. To reach 100,000, soon we'll bring you a video about the most picturesquely located stadiums in the world, so make sure to hit subscribe. 12th place, Stadion Voždovac, Belgrade. The richest clubs in the world build shopping spaces next to stadiums, and the Serbs built a stadium on the roof of a shopping mall. Interestingly, the shopping center was erected on the site of the former ground of FK Voždovac. Although the hosts never won any cup, you can say that at home they always play on the highest level. 11th place, La Bombonera, Buenos Aires. The eastern stand is missing here. It is replaced by an elongated and tall but very narrow building with VIP boxes. Such a solution is not, however, the whim of architects, but results from the lack of space on the plot occupied by the stadium. The home of Boca Juniors owes its unique shape and outstanding support recognition all over the world. 10th place, Recep Tayyip Erdoğan Stadyumu, Istanbul. It's hard to choose where to begin. The roof covers only half of the stands. The stand behind one goal is strangely crooked, and behind the other, miniature. In the structure of the stands, 3 different buildings are incorporated. But that is not all. The northwestern stand is cut out because a street curves there. The venue bears the name of the President of Turkey, but it is hard to say whether this should be for him a reason for pride. 9th place, the Big O, Montreal. Let's omit that it is second among the most expensive stadiums in history and put the city into debt for 30 years. But was it really necessary to have a 165-meter tower to retract the roof? As it turned out, no. The mechanism was faulty, as a result of which the tower leaning over the stadium is useless, and the roof closed permanently. 8th place, Estádio Municipal, Aveiro. There are stadiums painted in club colors, but at Estádio Municipal de Aveiro, every team will find its colors. The place in this lineup would ensure for itself already with its facade, irregular, with strangely looking buildings. But because of the use of all, literally, shades of the rainbow, it is easy to overlook this fact. 7th place, Al Shamal SC Stadium, Al Shamal. Every club would like to turn its stadium into a fortress, but it is probably not about the kind on which Al Shamal SC plays. The stadium of the Qatari First Division side is a faithful copy of the nearby Al Zubra fort. Its facade imitates castle walls, and in each corner there is a tower, from which at night floodlight masts emerge. 6th place, Stadium 974, Doha. One of the arenas of the 2022 World Cup and a one-of-a-kind construction. The stadium was built of 974 shipping containers and is a temporary structure. Although contrary to the original plans, it was not dismantled immediately after the World Cup. The author of the project has announced that in the near future the venue will go to another country. 5th place, Ashgabat Olympic Stadium, Ashgabat. This time we're going with the horse. And not just any, but a noble Akhal Teke steed, which on its back carries the Olympic flame. The figure peeking into the interior of the Turkmen National Stadium weighs as much as 600 tons. But wait patiently until the end, because this is not the only animal stadium in our lineup. 4th place, Stadion w Czarnym Balogu, Czerny Balog. A typical pitch in a small town, turf, a modest stand, and changing rooms in a small building. All this surrounded by nearby houses. Typical. if not for the railway tracks running between the pitch and the stand. From May to September, wagons pulled by steam locomotives ride on them, at times covering for a moment from the spectators what is happening on the pitch. Third place, Estadio Akron, Zapopan. It is not a cloud, not a volcano, nor a UFO. It is the home of Chivas Guadalajara. The stadium stands on an artificial concrete hill, which was covered with 70,000 square meters of grass. In this way, the undulating landscape gained another bump, although it looks as if it were about to fly away into another galaxy. Second place, Mamabatho Stadium, Mahikeng. There are stadiums with typically football layouts of stands. There are those with athletics configuration, and there is this something. The worst is the fact that the venue has a twin brother, Odi Stadium, which is in a lamentable condition and was de facto excluded from use. The architect, supposedly from the USSR, laughed when he designed. The worker cried when he built. Hard to describe. You have to see it. First place, Matla Stadyumu, Bursa. They have not yet played in such a thing. A crocodile stadium sounds like a joke, but in Turkey they really built one. In defense of the bold architects, it must be said that Bursaspor, who play there, have the nickname the Green Crocodiles, so it makes some sense. And besides, the layout of the stands is really impressive. And those teeth? Art or kitsch? Decide for yourselves. Which stadium deserves the title of the weirdest in the world? Join the discussion in the comments. Next week, we'll have another full video, and on social media, you'll find new posts every day. See you there.